Hi, sexy. Thank you so much for joining me again. This is Anti-Aging Sensuality. I'm Dr. Lee Moore, your friendly sex and relationship counselor and therapist. And today I've received a few questions that kind of like water down into one because I wanted to kind of gather all this information, and they all related to a very interesting topic that has to do with dressing provocatively or suggestively. How does it affect our relationship? So I want to start and say that this is a very relevant question because we all think about what our actions actually contribute or hinder or enhance our relationships. And if we are not thinking about that, that's not a positive sign. So we should be thinking about it. But I want to start and say that the matter of dressing suggestively or provocatively or sexy or whatever it is, and I'm going to get to the gender issue when it comes to this. But first of all, it has to do with a lot of the openness and the level of support and communication in the relationship. So it can be the same kind of dress code, so to speak, for different women or different men in a relationship. And the result or the reaction can be very different from one set of relationship to another because the openness and the support and the communication is very different in this relationship from this one. Additionally, I want to start and mention that sometimes dressing provocatively or dressing sexy, and it doesn't have to do with the fact that it's a man or a woman, it doesn't really relate to the gender issue here, but sometimes it has to do with reassurance to a self or some form of an expression of self that has almost nothing to do with the relationship. Of course, it all contributes and it all affects a relationship, but sometimes the matter of dressing sexy or provocatively, and I dressed in some the leotard, kind of like a thing of jumper to kind of make a point because my husband, for instance, really loves this jumper. And I feel that it's kind of suggestive or sexy, but it doesn't necessarily affect the relationship. So jumping back into it, sometimes it's self-expression, sometimes it's supposed to kind of say something about the relation, the person itself, and not the relationship rather. And that's something that we should pay attention to. But I want to share with you two studies that I came across and the results of both. One I'm just going to touch and say that from these studies, what we found, what then the researchers found, what I read that they found, was that women were much more affected by their partners, their male partners, dressing, and specifying that it's male partners, not necessarily same-sex relationship, but heterosexual relationship where the male was dressing more provocatively or more sexy or more kind of revealing. Women were much more aggressive about this than men. And it's funny because most the common belief is that men are more protective and more kind of covering of a woman, and that's not necessarily so from these studies. It shows that women that were dealing with a partner that was very attractive and showing it to the public, to other ladies, were much more protective and much more kind of secure, trying to secure the situation. But I want to share with you another study that I was very excited reading because it was very interesting and very kind of different. We find that the researchers actually showed that women are the gender that is actually more aggressive when it comes to other women dressing sexy. And this is very interesting. Listen up. So what this study finds, and I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty of the research, but I'm just going to give you the results. So these women were watching other women wearing red. In particular, I didn't wear red, but you can imagine. These women were watching other women wearing red. Not necessarily a very revealing or kind of sexy outfit, but it was red still. It wasn't, of course, something very modest, but it was red. And the idea behind it was that these women find that other women wearing red were sexually receptive, that they were sending messages of sexuality, of interest. Another factor that these women, the observers of the other women wearing red, kind of suggested was that these women were kind of exuding infidelity to their partners. They assumed that the women wearing red were women that were cheating on their partners if they had partners. And last but not least, these women were were exhibiting, the women that were observers were exhibiting a very mate guarding kind of policy or kind of behavior to protect their mate from the woman wearing red, from the risk of them kind of trying to consume their partner or to kind of take over the relationship and steal their partner. So it's very interesting that the women in this study were the ones that were exhibiting the very aggressive, the very protective, the very kind of don't come near us kind of reaction versus the men. In other words, the men were probably looking, or in other words, if their partners were wearing red or behaving in a suggestive kind of outfit, wearing a suggestive outfit, they were less kind of protective or insecure about it than the women that were watching other women. So in a nutshell, we kind of come to a conclusion that it goes both ways, first and foremost. And secondly, that gender is unrelated and it has to do with a certain demeanor or the sensation in the relationship, how supportive you are, how connected you are, how trusting you are in this relationship. And last but not least, of course, that women are just as protective and just as aggressive when it comes to other women dressing provocatively or in a kind of for that matter, a color that is very attractive or very kind of attention seeking. So this is in a nutshell. I would suggest that you would take it to the relationship and ask your partner, what is he comfortable with, or what is she comfortable with, and try to kind of work around it, because this is how we build a trusting, strong relationship. Hopefully this helps. I was so happy to be here with you again, and please keep sending your questions. I enjoyed them greatly. And until then, as you always know, stay sexy and subscribe, and I'll see you very soon. Have a lovely, lovely week. Bye-bye.